Therefore, give the people of Israel this message from the sovereign Lord. Do you plan to pollute yourselves just as your ancestors did? Do you intend to keep prostituting yourselves by worshiping vile images? For when you offer gifts to them and give your little children to be burned as sacrifices, you continue to pollute yourselves with idols to this day. Should I allow you to ask for a message from me, O people of Israel? As surely as I live, says the sovereign Lord, I will tell you nothing. He goes back to that again. But he's just saying, do you plan? Do you intend? Do you plan? Do you intend? He wants them to verbalize it. Because listen, man, if we have a plan and we have an intention, verbalize it. What does that sound like? That's really what he's asking the Israelites to do. Tell me what your plan is. Do you plan to go back to the high places and ignore me? Is that what your intention is? That's what your plan is? He's really, really trying to get them to see that you're doing just the same thing that your ancestors did. You're no better than them. They're no better than you. Nothing really has changed in 1,000 years. You say, we want to be like the nations all around us who serve idols of wood and stone, but what you have in mind will never happen. Then down in 37, I will examine you carefully and hold you to the terms of the covenant. The covenant being exclusive devotion. The covenant being, and I will provide you with so much good you won't even believe it. But God's just reading the mind. You just want to be like everybody else, folks. We want to be like the nations all around us who serve idols of wood and stone. See, the wood and stone is going to help us. See, that's going to really give us something to look at, something to do. And it seems to be helping everybody else. Why can't it help us? And God's like, that is never going to happen under my watch. Ever. My people are not going to be that. Let me give you the rest of the history. In 597 BC, Babylon came against Jerusalem, came against the Israelites in Judah, and they had their first decisive battle win and deported many, many of the Israelites, and they went into exile in this first round. They took the rich people, they took the rulers, they took the wise men. Daniel was one of the ones that went in this first round. They came back a couple different times, and in 586 BC, they launched an attack against Jerusalem, and then Jerusalem fell. The temple was demolished. It's over. And the people went into exile. Discouraged, like unbelievably so. That was God's temple. That means God is gone. Jerusalem has fallen. Daniel actually became an advisor to Nebuchadnezzar in exile, and that was the Medes and the Persians came and they defeated Babylon, and then King Darius got on the throne. Daniel somehow became an advisor to King Darius as well, of the lion's den fame. Daniel's not doing too good with the kings, okay? Then Cyrus comes along, one of the Persian kings, and he sends an edict out to all of Israel, and he says to them, tell you what, if you want to, you can go back to your homeland and rebuild. Read all about it in Ezra and Nehemiah. And they went back, 50,000 of them, only 50,000 of them went back, and they started rebuilding the wall of Jerusalem and the temple. And when they were completed, everybody gathered, and they had a celebration. Sort of. The people who remembered Solomon's temple were like, what is this? I mean, I'm thankful to have another temple that we can worship God, and maybe God will be pleased with, but it's nothing like the old one. And then people started celebrating, like, well, I guess we're celebrating, but look at our people. We're a mess. They're scattered all over the place, just like the prophets said they would be. There's things going on that I didn't even know were supposed to go on, and it's like, now we're a mess. The temple's a mess. We're a mess. Everything's kind of a mess. And y'all, that's how the Old Testament ends. So for anybody who thinks that, man, we're going to read the Old Testament, it's going to be awesome, all these great stories, and it's going to be like, man, it's kind of messed up. So the people have always thought to themselves, who is going to help us? See, there's all this disobedience. I get it, man. I'm disobedient. Aren't you sometimes? Or all the time? There's forgetfulness. I forget. Don't you forget? There's unbelief. Man, I read something in the Bible and I'm like, God, do you really mean this? You serious? This promise? You kidding me? Because I really need that, but can you really? Listen, we live with these things. But the Israelites back then were living with these things, and they were like, who is going to help us? It wasn't Abraham. We thought it might be. Maybe he was the Savior. You know, Moses is the one that brought us out of Egypt. That Moses died, and then there was Joshua. He was a good man. He was a good leader. And he was strong. He got us into the promised land, but it wasn't Joshua. Well, maybe one of the judges. And then we knew it wasn't any of the judges because they all started good and ended bad. We want a king. That's going to be our answer. King Saul, that wasn't an answer. King David, nope. But Solomon, maybe Solomon's going to be the answer. But nope. Solomon died too. Who's going to be the answer? There's a problem. They're far away from God. How do we get back to that place where God and us are close again? Where do we get back to that place where I'm serving God and I have the strength of God and I'm being led by God and He's changing my heart? Where do we get to that place? Who's going to help me with that? Because it wasn't any of those other people. Isaiah 9. Nevertheless, that time of darkness and despair will not go on forever. The land of Zebulun and Naphtali will be humbled, but there will be a time in the future when Galilee of the Gentiles, which lies along the road that runs between the Jordan and the sea, will be filled with glory. The people who walk in darkness will see a great light. For those who live in a land of deep darkness, a light will shine. Isaiah 42, look at my servant whom I strengthen. He is my chosen one who pleases me. I have put my spirit upon him. He will bring justice to the nations. He will not shout or raise his voice in public. He will not crush the weakest reed or put out a flickering candle. He will bring justice to all who have been wronged. He will not falter or lose heart until justice prevails throughout the earth. Even distant lands beyond the sea will wait for his instruction. Zechariah 9:9, rejoice, O people of Zion. Shout in triumph, O people of Jerusalem. Look, your king is coming to you. He is righteous and victorious, yet he is humble, riding on a donkey's colt. Zechariah 12:10, then I will pour out a spirit of grace and prayer on the family of David and on the people of Jerusalem. They will look on me whom they have pierced and mourn for him as for an only son. They will grieve bitterly for him as for a firstborn son who has died. And then Daniel 7. As my vision continued that night, I saw someone like a son of man coming with the clouds of heaven. He approached the Ancient One and he was led into his presence. He was given authority, honor, and sovereignty over all the nations of the world so that people of every race and nation and language would obey him. His rule is eternal. It will never end. His kingdom will never be destroyed. Y'all getting this? Y'all getting this? It turns out something. Turns out that this whole thing's about Jesus. In all of our weakness, in all of our wrongdoing, in all of our disobedience, in all of our forgetfulness, in all of our unbelief, in all of the Israelites' unbelief and forgetfulness, it's like, who is going to be the one? Now he's here.